Welcome back to Racing. Well, Carl, okay, now, you know, we've got the sponsorship, we've done the approach, we got it. Now there's a thing called activation. We got to put this thing into gear and make it work.
Sure. And one of the most important things to remember is what you're out there to do. When you made that presentation to the company, no matter how small it is, whether you've approached a lemonade stand and asked for sponsorship or a Fortune 500 company and requested sponsorship, you've got to honor the commitment you made in the beginning. And that means being proactive in what you do and acting on every single promise you made. So make sure that you do what you say you're going to do.
It's far better to under-promise and over-deliver.
Sure, sure it is. And that helps you for next year, because really what you want to be thinking is long-term. I mean, in the case of my Mac Tools sponsor, that was one that started small, and it really, by today's standards, it is small. But the important part is we've been working together for 15 years now, and I'm proud of that. And I hope he's proud of our relationship too, because we've done a lot of unique and creative programs. But importantly, we've had no promises unmet, and we've done what we've said we were going to do.
And that's what it takes. And you know, you mentioned that too, they're a small sponsor. You know, you don't want to overlook all your small sponsors either.
No, I mean, the small sponsor is just as important as a big sponsor, because they are sponsoring your car. I mean, little or big, they're still helping you, and you have to show them the same respect and help them back.
Sure. There are times when a manufacturer who gets involved with your race team will spend 2 to 3 times the amount you're getting in order to promote that sponsorship. So you should take a little bit of their budget to you and make it back towards what you're doing for them. So if they're a company that's really helping you out a lot and they ask you to be at this promotion, well, bring the car. But maybe you want to have some flower pots brought in or something to dress up the area where the car is located. Maybe you want to spend some money on food, snacks, drinks, things to make people feel welcome. Have a shaded swinging chair out by this. Have people around. Show some activity. Don't just dump the car off in a parking lot and disappear.
And that's an excellent point too, because you know sometimes you're talking about taking some of your sponsorship money, if there's enough there, and giving it back to the sponsor. You know, I've seen teams actually barter for ad space or different things like that too, and actually, you know, get ad space for the company out of their sponsorship deal.
Well, actually, I don't mean to keep talking about me, but you know what? It's my favorite subject. So there was one time when I was sponsored by, well, I had several sponsors, and this, again, Mac Tools was one of them. So there was a racing program on a local AM station in my neighborhood, in where I would commute back and forth to work. I'd listen to it. And I thought, gee, I don't think that could be too expensive. So I called up the radio station. I said, hey, can I buy a 30-second ad spot on your radio station to thank my sponsors? And the AM station said, sure, come on down. So I paid it, and it was unbelievably reasonable. It was like $30 for a 15-second spot to appear twice. And when I went in, the guy said, gee, I like your attitude. The guy who owns the radio station says, how do I get on your race car?
Huh.
And I said, well, why don't you give me some more ad space? And he said, okay. So I gave him some space on my race car that advertised his racing radio program, and in exchange, he gave me more ad slots during his radio day program. So that's how things can work together.
Yeah, and you have to remember though, I mean, let's say that you put the money that they gave you right back into their sponsor. I mean, even if you put it all back in and then some. But you have to know that a car with the sponsor on the hood always looks better than a plain one.
Oh, sure.
And it attracts more sponsors
yeah,
too.
And the fans notice it better. Hey, that's the Pro Light Coleman car, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
Got that right in there, didn't
yeah,
you?
right there.
That radio deal came to you because you were working hard for your sponsor.
Sure.
And doing the things you were supposed to be doing anyway
Yeah.
for your other sponsor. So yeah, things can kind of just perpetuate and snowball like that too.
And it happens all the time. A friend of mine recently he has a sponsorship from a local parts store. So he had some brochures for his race team on the counter at the parts store. A couple who just bought into a racing limousine business went into this parts store to buy some parts, saw that there was a racer involved. He had his contact information right there. They called him up and said, hey, notice your stuff. The sponsor called the racer and said, how can we get our racing limousine business on the side of your race car at the Speedway? And what he did, he didn't ask for money. He knew it was a startup company. He said, hey, why don't you donate a couple nights out for some of my other sponsors? So now he's taking this racing limousine to pick up the sponsors from another aspect of his car and working it all together.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week. We'll see you next week on Racing TV.